What's up, guys? Gogan here, coming at you with another extended video. Okay, this video is going to be jam-packed. Okay, bringing you guys some awesome stuff. So on the left here, we've got Zelda shooting a bow. On the right, we've got Zelda doing a jump. Right smack dab in the middle, we have her doing both. Okay, and today we are going to learn how to utilize our animations and to put both into one without having to do a whole extra animation. We're going to take both animations and put them together. It's a lot easier than you would think. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. I'm super excited to show you guys. Let's jump on in real quick, guys. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has supported my channel, that has come by, that has subscribed, that has done all that cool stuff, that has supported me on the Discord. I just want to say thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Please, if you're coming to this channel for the very first time, like and subscribe so we can keep building this community, keep building this channel, keep building this server, and we can keep going, okay? Also, please, anybody that is watching this, click that share button, okay? Share this as much as possible. Share as much as my content, as much as you can, so that we can spread the word about my channel and you guys can learn so much more than what I'm offering now. I can offer you so much more. Share my content. Please leave comments, ask for more stuff. I'm here for you guys, just trying to build a community. Thanks, guys. So we are going to start with our shooting our bow, okay? Doing a clean loop. Obviously, the bow gets all squirrely here. Zoom in. Oh, look, it's all pretty again. Anyway, so camera framing matters, right? So we're going to start with this bow shoot first. And traditionally, as always, we are going to go ahead and destroy our animation. Well, get rid of it. We'll be doing some destroy later. Alright, guys, this is the pose we're going to start in today, okay? This is the very first pose, right? I like to start with a storytelling pose, okay? In all my animations, I build out a storytelling pose. In this animation, this was the storytelling pose of Zelda shooting the bow, okay? And then we're going to build in all of our other cool stuff, okay? So, where does she need to go from here? Well, traditionally, you know, she would go to a shooting the bow, okay? Like the arrow would fly. I don't want to quite build that in yet, okay? I want to animate her going into the, like, grabbing the new bow, okay? The loop is going to happen when when she puts the bow downward. That's where the loop is going to happen, and she pulls it up, lets an arrow fly, pulls an arrow out, and puts it back. That's the loop, okay? And that's what I found the cleanest loop to be in this whole situation, okay? So what we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and build out that next pose. So we're going to move this pose over, actually, right here, okay? And so I guess, yeah, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. So I'm not going to do really much anything with the hands right now. Okay, I'm just going to leave. I have this nice pose, like, when she's going to go to grab an arrow, and it's going to be pretty much the same thing. Okay, the same hand pose when she grabs arrow. So I'm not actually going to do another hand pose, okay, right now. And I may not for this tutorial, because there's so much we're going to go over in this tutorial. I may not even, like, do a hand pose. I may not do a polishing pass. A huge polishing pass on anything, okay? Because I want to give you guys as much as I possibly can with this animation. So, our bow is going to be down here on this first pose, okay? It's going to be down here. We're going to put it, you know, in a neutral location. Got to zero this out here after build that pose, okay? And I would usually, you know, do... I want to start doing more, like, reference, you know, looking at reference. But, again, this tutorial is so jam-packed. I might actually just do, like, upload separate tutorials for just, like, a jump, a polished jump, and then, like, a polished bow shoot, okay? But we're getting all that today, and I can leave the, like, polishing up to you guys. We're going to zero this arrow out. Let's see here. All right, so we got that bow put back in the sheath, okay? It really doesn't matter we got the bow put back. She's going to grab it from here. And yeah. So after she throws her hand back to grab the arrow, okay. After she shoots her bow, she's actually going to make sure to pull those shoulders down when needs be, okay? When she goes to grab the arrow, and after she lets go of the bow, after she lets go of the arrow, she's going to come back here anyway. But we're going to build a pose into that another pose into that area as well. She comes back, okay? A cool thing about this animation that I initially did is a weight shift, okay? And I wanted to take an opportunity to do weight shift so I can show you guys another instance where you guys can do a weight shift, okay? And so, yeah, we're going to pull her back as she comes back. Archers that are doing like some really quick movements don't actually like move back to grab the arrow. I found in the reference that I was watching, I did a ton of research on the reference I was watching. They just like, they're trying to quickly fire off arrows, right? So they're just actually standing pretty still and just pew, 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 right? And they're just letting them fly. But I wanted to use this opportunity to do a weight shift. And I thought it would add a little bit more fun to the animation because it would be more movement in the animation, okay? And that sheath is attached to her hip, but we can always rotate it down and do whatever we want with it, okay? Storytelling pose, another storytelling pose of her grabbing the arrow, and then I want to do the next storytelling pose of which is her like coming down with it, okay? We're going to move this pose over again, and then we're going to come down with it. You guys might notice as you're using this rig, real quick, I just want to point this out, you guys might notice that you don't have this control right here, okay? And that's okay. All I did with this control here is I made it, I created a NURBS curve, okay? Create NURBS primitives, a circle, okay? I created a circle. I made a group above that circle, okay? And then I put the group where this pivot was. And the way you do that is you grab the group here, you grab the control, and then you go to Windows, Mesh, Modify, Match, Translation, okay? And also Windows, Modify, Match Rotation. What that does is it's going to put that exactly where that control is. And then all I did was I took this, remember, on a parent constraint, you have to constrain the group above it. Otherwise, you can't animate the actual control itself. So what I did is I found the group above this control by selecting it, going to the outliner here, pressing F, and then I found this group. This is the group above this. Okay, so then I just grab my control, and my instance is this one. Grab my control here, grab the group, and then I parent constrain that. Okay, and that after doing that, I'm able to use this. I did that because I do not like this control behind this rig. I just don't like it, and so I just made my own control. And you can do that. It's fine. It's totally fine. It totally works, and your animation will be just fine. Okay, so just wanted to point that out real quick. We're actually going to do the same kind of thing with this arrow. Okay, I don't want to have to animate the arrow going along with her hand, okay? That's just an absolute bonkers nightmare. And so what I'm going to do real quick, without having any tools like Animbot or anything, I am going to go ahead and set up a parent constraint from the hand to the arrow, okay? And you can do this with so many objects, okay? So let's quickly do it. Again, you cannot animate a control that has a parent constraint on it. So you need to do the parent constraint on the group above it. So this arrow here, we go find the group above it by selecting the arrow, pressing F in the outliner. The group above this arrow is right here. Okay? All we need to do is select our hand control, then select the group control that's above the arrow, and then parent constraint. That will give us the ability to completely fully have the arrow follow along and give us the ability to animate the arrow however we want. Okay? So now we are going to build out this pose where she's crouching down to knock the arrow, right? Load the arrow. You can knocking, loading, pretty sure it's called knocking. Anyway, we're going to have her bend down, okay? Again, archers aren't going to actually bend down to knock the arrow. I am just doing that for more movement purposes, to add a little bit more movement in the animation, because in the game world, that's likely going to be the case, where, like, you want to make it a little more fun, and so you're going to animate it, like, doing, you're going to animate it doing something more than just, like, really basic, simple movements, because you want it to be more fun for the player, right? So I am going, she's coming down here, she bends down like this, not a whole ton, okay, I don't want to do a whole ton, bends down, has the bow, you're gonna knock the arrow, okay, we want to line the bow up, like, her hand has got to be straight, okay, like this, and then we want to line that arrow up as much as we can with that hand, as if it was going to be holding the arrow like it should be, okay? And we can go ahead and put it on the actual bow itself, like this, okay? Lean her forward a bit. Pull this out. We want to make sure that we, nothing is penetrating inside of her leg or anything, but mostly, like, keeping aware of the string here, okay? We can go ahead and zero the string out right here. We can go ahead and zero these out, just like this. Now her bow is at 0, okay? She is going to be leaning forward with this movement. She's going to be leaning forward like this and down just a bit. Okay, she's knocking that arrow like this. It's kind of a weaker pose right now. We can make this pose a bit stronger. Okay, but at the same time, we don't necessarily have to. This is essentially what would happen in an actual real case scenario. Okay. We could probably bring it a little bit closer so that we could get a stronger silhouette on that elbow. Yeah, I like that more. Let's go ahead and do that. I already have her hand posed out, okay? That's one of the cool details that I had added in when I was looking at my references, like like bow archer will, like, they don't have fancy like fancy bows, right? So they had to use their finger back then to line up their finger and their thumb here to line up the arrow on the bow before they shot it. So that's how they would do that, is they would line it up right here with their hand and then go and shoot it. Whoop! Let's get that arrow pointing the right direction. Just like that. Okay. So, these are our 3 storytelling poses, right? We've got it done. We've got it made. And then let's add one more pose in here, okay? And I built out this whole animation off of this pose. Once you get this really strong, fun, nice pose in. So, we have her coming back on her right hip, okay, bending down, going back to her left hip, going up to her left hip, and on this weight transfer, I just want to point out, like, she's bending down, just like on a regular weight transfer, right, and then going up like this, okay, and then she's going to let the arrow fly. Now, if we look here, we notice, whoop, 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 it is bonkers, right? This arrow is bonkers. Why? Because it's still following the hand, okay? All we need to do is we need to key the parent constraint, okay? So press S, that parent constraint, the key is right here. We're going to grab this parent constraint, S, okay? It's going to key everything, and we're going to press 0, okay? That's going to put our arrow back to where it was, and the reason it's going to put back where it was is because we have this arrow keyed at this specific specific position. Okay, now when the parent constraint turns on, which we have to turn it back on now, when it's turned on, it's keyed down in her hand. Okay, and we built that key out already, but we add the parent constraint, so now we're solid, right? Just like magic. Now it's just like saved animation data, right? You keyed it right here when there was no parent constraint, so it was pretty much off, and then you had a key right here when the parent constraint was on, okay, and right here, and the parent constraint isn't off yet. So now we are going to let that arrow fly. Okay. Whoop. It's gonna go like this. Our bow is going to, let's see. No, it doesn't look like that rig has that ability to do that. It's going to straighten out like a lot like this. Obviously, we want to take this and make it so it's more like this. Okay, that arrow's flying. We want it to come out of the bow. Okay, her hand is going to come back, and at this point, we want to get rid of that parent constraint now again. Okay. So let's go ahead and turn that parent constraint off. It's still parent constraint at this point, and then right here is when it lets go. Boom. Okay. Really cool trick you can do here, right? My arrow's lost. I don't want to reposition that arrow, right? Go back to when the arrow was not unparent constrained, okay? Now, go to Create, Locator, right here. Find that locator in your outliner, okay? You can see that I already did it several times. But find that locator in the outliner, grab that locator. Now you're going to select the arrow, and then you are going to, I already have a hot button, okay, whatever you want to call it. And, but pretty much this hot button is modify match transformations, match all transformations. What that's going to do is it's going to put that locator up to where that the rotation of the arrow is, which is right here. Now, the cool thing is when you unparent constrain that, press 0. Oh no, the arrow, it's back in its sheath, or where did the arrow go? Okay, let's find the arrow. It's up there. Bonkers, right? No, it's not, because we have this locator where it was supposed to be. We can just select the arrow, select the locator, match all transformations, or modify match all transforms. Okay, boom, right there. Unparent constrained, now it's exactly where we want it. Okay, so we have our entire animation now. We just need to time it out and animate it, right? Don't forget to select the parent constraint as well. You want to make sure you always select that parent constraint. I've learned to just keep my outliner open. For instances like this, I use parent constraint a lot and locators a lot, and so I just have my outliner open. Okay, we don't need it open, so I mean, I'm gonna open it soon here anyway, but we can keep closed. All right, so I'm in stepped in block mode. Let's go ahead and time this animation out. Okay. Oh, one thing I want to do real quick is I want to add this. All right, so we have this hand here, and it lets it fly, right? And we can have it opening up, all fun, cool like this. Boom, right? Maybe these knuckles release. We're not going to go too into detail. I really want to get you guys some really awesome content, so we're going to move on after we open up her hand. Okay. So this is what we have with our parent constraint, like this. Okay. And then she's going to loop back and go like this. Come back here like this. And maybe on that bow, we can bring it down just a little more, like this. And then have it loop like that. All right. So now let's build in, let's time out our animation, okay? It's less than sign S, less than sign S, less than sign S. But we have our animation. All right. So she's going to bend down, stay there for just a sec, it's not an anticipation really. She's trying to go really fast, so she's going to be going real quick. She's going to pull up. We want her to pull up kind of not super, pull up in a reasonable amount of time, but then we want to give her some more time to like aim the bow, right? So she's going to come up and then she's going to ease up into that. Oop, got to make sure that my parent constraint is selected. Okay, very important. Time that out. After she hits this pose here, we are actually going to like have her ease into it too, right? Give her some time to aim. So she's gonna come up and then she's gonna be aiming, get a little bit more pull, ease into that, and then let it fly. Okay? And then let the arrow go, right? And then she's gonna come back. And we'll do 26 frames. All right. We have that all playing nicely. So let's go ahead and press the destroy button. I'm going to grab this here. This is our next animation, is the jump animation. That's what that pose is. But I set a key here so that we don't disrupt all of this pose here. Okay? So, things that I don't like right now, okay? Let's go ahead and time this out here a little bit more. I want her to come down. I don't like how it stays there, so on just like all my other tutorials, I'm going to get rid of that flattened out part where she just like stays still, okay? I'm going to pull her back as she's coming into it like this. She's coming into it. Going to pull this down just a bit here because I don't want her to just hit that pose and stay. I want her to like be coming up into that pose and easing into that aim, right? Give her some time to aim that. Grab the elbow. She comes up, boom, lets it fly. We can sweeten that out by getting rid of the parent constraint. You'll notice that the parent constraint is gradually going to 0. We want to make that go to 0, okay? And we want to make this frame here, and we want to make the parent constraint go to 0, just like this. And then it's still unparent constraint, so we can let it fly the rest of the way. And now what we need to do to get that arrow back to where it was, because that would be the clean game loop, is we have to get the arrow back in the sheath. And it's okay if it just reappears there. Like, I think for the sake of like the animation, nobody cares, okay? And that's what would happen in a game anyway, is that it would replenish right there if it was unlimited arrows, right? And once the arrow leaves screen, we can have it return. We make sure that that parent constraint is off, and then it returns back to 0, so we can just hit that right there. Looks like we need to grab the arrow and there we go. Now it's back in its sheath. Okay. One of the big things right now that we have a problem right now is the arrow is kind of being weird and sloppy. We don't want it to be like that, not sloppy like that, because again, the parent constraint is not turning on instantly. So let's turn that parent constraint on, and then we're going to have to reposition the arrow, okay? Or I think we can just copy and paste this to here, okay? Yes. There is something that I do want to add actually, and that is making it so like she grabs and she's pulling out, right? She's pulling out the arrow, because she's not just gonna like go like this, right? There has to be some kind of pulling out motion where she leans back and then she's pulling it out to knock it, okay? So let's go ahead and add that like pulling out. And by this point, the parent constraint would be on, okay, when she comes back to here. So we'll have to do a little bit of trickery again to get it to look natural and good. Parent constraint is on. Parent constraint, want to make sure that is on here. Okay. We can create another locator, right? So let's go to create locator. Oops. Create locator. We've got that locator number 4 here. So here we can now match it to here. So the arrow is back in its sheath. Supposedly. But it looks like it's at 0. Oh, that's because we did not go to here and put the locator to here. We got to match that. Okay. Now that we match that, we've got to do the opposite now and match the arrow to where that's supposed to be. Okay. Now let's grab this arrow here. Our arrow is generally in the spot it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a little bit farther down here, like this. We can point this arrow down like this as she is grabbing it. Okay? Because she's gonna pull it out like this. Right? And we can pull her shoulder out just a little bit. Have her go like this. Have her lean back into it. Right? And then on this one here, she is actually going to pull it out here. Now, the thing that we can do here that makes it look okay and not completely bonkers is it's like in my Link tutorial where I had Link I had the sword like rotating in its own path of action, so it wasn't like ever like right. It was rotating in its own little like path of action kind of thing. So we can do the same thing here, or like give it a path of action. Even though it's a rigid object, you can still give it like a path of action that is clean. And it looks like we might need to push a couple more frames in here. And that's fine too. And for some reason, it did not grab that for us. That's okay. We just need to push this back a bit. There we go. Our parent constraint is getting all squirrely here. Okay, cool. We're back where we should be. Okay, so now looking at the animation from this point, it's almost there. Okay, we just need to make it so it's not stepped and it's not moving so quickly in like these like popping and everything. Okay, so we need to grab everything, make sure clamp stepped is not on. Okay, then you know, smooth that out. Okay, looks like our arrow here is getting squirrely. Let's go ahead and Euler filter it, see if that's the problem. I think it was. All right. Let's make sure our parent constraint is being nice to us. It is. Okay, so the hand here is doing some kind of pose on the arrow, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. Okay. Pull this out. We want to pull this elbow down like this. We can have the arrow be in this position by now. Almost in full position of Zelda like knocking it. Okay. We can even probably add another keyframe right here because that's quite a jump. So looking at it right now, I don't like how she kind of comes back really quick and then goes forward really quick, right? So we need to make that a little smoother. I know that I want like a weight shift right here because going from front to back. Okay. Just like this. Pop the hip a bit right here like this. And then we need to make sure it's a clean loop, so we grab the first frame and the last frame and we loop it right there. Let's the arrow fly. Okay, so now we have this instance where Zelda is like rotating really quickly back like this. Okay, and she's not really like, I want her to continue to go backward. So I'm going to pull this back like this, because right now she's leaning back into this, okay? And it needs to be a clean loop. And the way we make that a clean loop is we grab the first and last end frames and we make sure that they are leading into each other, okay? Just like this. And then we can add a little bit of rotation, like counter posto rotation here on the body, just like this. Make sure her arm isn't overextending here. On her way back, we can have her bend forward. Okay. Okay, so it's working pretty well just like this. Okay. We can have her pulling it upward like that. We want it to stay in the sheath as much as we can. She comes back like this. It's right here. We can have her pulling, going to grab it, and then on the loop, she does grab it here. Okay, there we go. Now she's pulling it out and bringing it down to knock it, okay? The cool thing is when somebody knocks an arrow, they're going to grab it and then they're going to move their other hand closer to the bow, the arrow hand, so that they can pull back and then let it fly. Okay? And so she's going to bring that up, and we can move both of them like this, because she's going to bring that bow up to do that, and then she's going to pull back just like this. We're going to point this down. Unfortunately, like this kind of thing, you have to like hand key, just because like there's no way to like keep those lined up, right? I'm sure there is some like crazy rigging way, but I honestly don't mind just keying everything. I have more control that way anyway, so I don't mind doing that. There might be some crazy, you know, rigging way to do some kind of aim constraint where it stays. But because we're not dealing with like a ton of frames where the arrow has, like the hand and the arrow have to be lined up, it's fine to just keep it like this. Let's pull this arrow forward so that she can be bringing it backwards like this. All right, we're getting to that clean loop here now, right? We're not going to go too much farther than this, just because I want to get to the jumping and then to the other two with you guys. But this pretty much tells our story, okay? And there's tons of polish that can happen. And I think we can make that just a little sweeter on the let go of the bow, okay? This can definitely come closer like this. Let's add a little bit of that bounce, okay? So the bounce is the bow right instantly is going to go like this after it releases. And then it's going to bounce back to this position right here. But you want to make sure, okay, that it's when it's coming back and reverberating or whatever, that it's not coming back to zero. This is zero right here. So you want this position to be farther than zero so that it looks like it's still bouncing. And you can even pull it farther this way so that by the time it gets back to the loop, it does a bounce. Just like that, okay? All right, what other things do we want to look at here? We can quickly look at the bow, how like the we can quickly look at the hand and the string and how the string and the hand are moving backwards together, but like the string starts going faster than the hand. There's something that you can do, right? It's lined up exactly how we want here and here. Like if we look, they're pretty lined up straightly, right? So what we can do to get those to go at the same speed and the same amount is we can grab the keys that it's being affected between here and here, right? And we can press this. That will make it so it's the same timing the whole time. Because right before, it was easing into one another. Like this was the string was easing into its position here, and the hand was easing into its position. And so because they were both easing, like the curves aren't easing at the exact same time. And so what you can do is you want to make it so those two lines are like the same timing. And the way you can do that is forcing it to be linear by pressing this. Okay? There's no ease in, there's no ease out. You don't want it to ease in and out either, necessarily. Okay? And you can build an ease in there where you can pull it back and then have it and build the ease in yourself, so you can control that ease. She pulls back and then she eases into it, right? But that way the timing is the same. And you want to pull this up. It looks like we want to pull this up because it's going a little bit down. That's okay. All right, so we have our like drawing and shooting, right? It's not super polished, okay? I want to make sure that we can get to everything in this animation, in this tutorial, okay? So we have our pulling and shooting loop. Clean game loop, right? Without a ton of polish. It's looking really good, honestly. And sweeten it up just a little bit because they have to pull this all the way like this. So her hand comes back really fast. Maybe not all the way, maybe not quite that far. It releases the arrow and just boom, comes back fast, right? And then she goes to grab another arrow. So we have our clean game loop here of our shooting, okay? Now, let's go to our jump. I already saved the pose here, right here at the very end, okay? This is gonna be our jump pose. We're gonna do a quick jump cycle. All right? So, let's block that in real quick. Make sure clamped and stepped is on. Animation, clamped, stepped, save. We are going to grab all of our controls that we're going to be affecting. Okay, we're going to pull that down. Oop. Grab the elbows as well. Pull those down because when you jump, there is a crouch. Okay. And this whole animation is like very like profile view camera where she's trying to like 2.5D kind of thing, right? And that's fine. We want her to jump pretty high, so we're gonna bend her down a good amount, just like this. She's gonna stay there for a bit, and then she's gonna jump up. Now, the thing that's gonna help us pull this off is if we use the global control, okay? We need to use the global control to do this. So we're gonna build in that like jumping off the ground pose like this. So she goes up. We want to roll those balls, okay, just like this. Pull that up. She crouches down. Want to make sure that our frames are clean, so there's not some like tiny movement. She's gonna jump up. And now we already have this pose. Now we are like this contact pose right here of her jumping. Now we're gonna have her go in the air. Okay. We need, since we put that special parent constraint on the main body control, we need to grab that also as well as the global and pull that up. Now, real quick, something on the global, just real fast. It is very well known by a lot of people and animators that you do not animate the global. Okay, that is true in most cases. But if you're gonna have something like a game loop, they're like, it's okay to do that because like in the game engine, there's gonna be something called force root lock, and that will keep them on the ground, and it won't matter as long as your root, which if she were to be put in a game is right here, I think, then you would just keep that on the ground or wherever the root is, and keep that on the ground, and then it's a whole game engine thing anyway. But in this instance, especially for tutorial, it's okay if we do this global control. Okay, you don't ever want to try and get the feet to move like with the global, and like moving the global and then animating the feet, and like you're just doing a bunch of counter animation. Anyway, moving on. So let's get rid of that ball roll, and then we're gonna point the feet down like this. We're gonna get a nice fun delicate pose. Okay, maybe this foot is up here like this, just like I had in my little like quick video. We're gonna make some fun like delicate pose like this, where she jumps up. She's, Zelda. It's going to be nice and delicate, but she is still a warrior fighter, so we want to make her look awesome too. Jumps up, just like this, is up in the air, holds there, then comes back down. Now, the cool thing about a jump cycle is, and you have to change the poses, but you can just copy and paste the poses that you had already built in. So this pose, like, coming back down, we can just copy and paste this pose here. Copy and paste the crouch pose here. And then the game loop pose of her standing back up. And there's our successful jump. Now let's make sure that we have clamp and step turned on. So if we scrub through here, we will see that she is jumping up and falling back down and landing. Really simple jump animation, okay? And I will probably do a separate jump animation tutorial at some point. But on the way down, we want to make sure her hands are coming out like this. Delete that. They're going to come down and then back up. I want to build, with a lot of my tutorials, I go ahead and add a couple keyframes at the very end because I know I'm going to add that body bounce, right? She's jumping up, she's landing, you're going to have a body bounce. That infamous body bounce that I always talk about, right? Right here, we need to build in her crouching down. So in this tutorial, just real quick, as I'm building this like crouch down pose, I obviously could have just shown you guys like how to do that animation of jumping up and shooting the bow. But the point of this tutorial is to show like you can take two of your animations you already have and intentionally like cater them to each other so that you can create a whole new animation really quickly without having to redo everything, right? And how like make iterations on your animations that you already have so that you don't have to spend a ton of time animating the same things over and over again. Okay, you're utilizing your animations, working smarter and not harder, right? Okay, so we have her bending down like this. Maybe go like this, have her bend down. Maybe a little straighter. She bends down. Oop. Have her bent still. She comes up, then she falls back down. Now let's time that out. We've got that jump happening. She comes down. I like to kind of do like a 4-frame come down on a jump. I like to traditionally hold for 3 frames. Okay, that's the way I do my comes down, holds there for 3 frames, then it's going to jump up. That's just how I do my animations. Come up in 2 frames, another 2 frames, gonna stay in the air. I kind of just play with that a little bit, see what I like. And she's gonna come down. Let's see, pops up, stays up in the air, then comes down like she's gonna ease into the down, come down, land, and then I like to give myself quite a bit of settle time. All right, so if we just go to 52 here, that's where our jump is happening. 52. Ah, that's a nice little jump, right? So let's go ahead and key everything. And then we are going to destroy it. It's not too bad. It's still looking pretty good. That up in the air is not staying in there long enough, so I'm going to push that out a bit longer. Okay, I think that's good. Obviously, the first thing I want to do is make it so that has a fun arc. Real quick. Okay, yes. Let's make it have so that has a fun like arc on it. Okay, so it doesn't look so terribly linear. So she jumps up. We need to we did the main control, like the global control. Obviously, we did that change to her like main control, so we need to also build that into there. And we can even probably bring her even higher up in the air. In fact, let's do it. Grab both the Y translate. Woo! Maybe not that much. Frame in on that so it doesn't go so. All right, yeah, I'm really liking that. So the next thing I want to focus on is like the progression of the feet. Okay, like in my link tutorial, the feet are going to have progression. They don't just like stay here the whole time. They're going to also animate up by themselves. Okay, so I want to build that in there, and then they're going to start coming down sooner than everything else because they need to catch her. And I like how that's feeling so far. We want to build in the wrist. They're currently on the jump. They're not coming down. They're not overlapping downward, so we want to build that in so they're overlapping downward like this. Coming down. And then they're going to come up gradually by themselves. And if we don't like how this is kind of translating down like that, we can always pull that up so that that it has less of a downward and more of an upward. There we go. I like that a lot more. I want to make it so her hands come outward so they're not just like going straight up. They're coming outward like this. Because she is jumping in the air. And there's a sense of like zero gravity when you're up at the apex of a jump. And so her arms are going to kind of float up and then she's going to go down. I don't like this part where it's flattening out. So I am going to go ahead and give that a little bit of flair on the hands and the body. What I'm doing here is the hands are not able, like they're mirrored, right? So they are going to, one's going to be going up and the other's going to be going down. So all we need to do is grab both of these, and instead of pulling them down, you'll have an instance where this goes up and then comes back down. We don't want that. This one's doing the correct thing, but if you look, one's coming up now because it's going like this. So all we need to do is grab both of them, press the scale button, and now they're easing into their pose, you see. Okay, so now we have our jump. So if we look at, and it's not polished, okay, and we can polish it after. We can do some polish work after. So now what we are going to do is the bread and butter of this whole tutorial, right, is make this third animation. So let's go back to the beginning, okay, and let's look at our two animations that we have. And we can even bring them closer together, but we need to make sure that we grab the parent constraint too. Let's pull this backwards like this. So we have her shooting and then jumping. Shooting and then jumping. Now we want to make it so she shoots and jumps. So in like a studio, right? A studio scenario or a game scenario where you need to do your animations, you're going to have these two different animations on your list, right? We need Zelda doing a shooting animation. We also need her doing a jumping animation. Okay? But then you're going to have an also where you're going to need a variation of her having the bow in her hand and jumping at the same time too. It's not like she's not going to have a bow, right? There's going to be times she's not going to have anything and she's going to need to jump, and she's going to need to have a bow and she's going to need to jump. She's also going to have an instance where she needs to be able to have a bow in her hand, jumping and shooting at the same time. Well, the cool thing is we can now make that animation by using what we've already done. And we're going to do that right now. So this might seem a little crazy, okay? But where does our jumping where does this second animation start? Okay, it starts at frame 38 and goes to 77. What we want to do is we want to just grab the main control and the hips, because we want to keep that main control and hip action, okay? And we want to deselect all of our upper controls, okay? And since we already built out that first animation, you saved through it and you created it already, okay? What we're going to do, we'll go ahead and save this out right now before we do anything crazy, okay? And we'll save it as a new animation as test. Make sure that we just test it out, okay? If we were scared about that, we can go ahead and from 37, we can delete all the animation we just created, right? But this is a new file. So you already saved that animation out, and now you're creating a new animation off of a new file. So all that animation is saved, okay? Now we're going to pull this all the way to the beginning. Now what that's going to do is you're taking the upper half of the animation, okay, of the shooting animation, and the bottom half of the jumping animation. And what that's going to do is you're going to jump and shoot at the same time. We're going to have to time it out a little bit and do a little bit of adjustments, but the cool thing is now, boom, right? We've got the main structure of a brand new animation where we mixed it together, okay? So all I need to do is since she goes down and pulls out that bow, right? Our timing is like she's starting to jump up too soon, okay? Of like when she's pulling out the bow, when she's like knocking the arrow and jumping up, it's too soon. So we just need to add more time on that, like going downward with the body. We need to add more time. None of our upper controls are selected, okay? So we just need to add more time. We need to give her time in order to knock the bow, just like our original timing of her knocking the bow, okay? We can see that original timing on her hands, right? Where she comes down, knocks the bow, she's still down there knocking the bow, and then she goes to shoot it, okay? Same thing. We want to extend that like anticipation pose right here of her down on the, like crouching down. We want to extend that anticipation pose. And then she's jumping up and shooting the arrow. We can push that a little bit farther and see if we... So, now what is happening, you'll notice, like, now she's got it lower down, the bow lower down. We don't want that, right? We want her to still come up and shoot that bow just like before, okay? With up at her face. Now, doing this, it's not going to be perfect, okay? You're not going to get this perfect, great animation out of it. There is some adjustments, but like as we can see, we created two animations, two separate animations, and now we're meshing them together. And so what we can do is we can grab the hand controls here, and the elbow, and we can move them up so she's now shooting from her face. Grab all translate Y's. Okay, right here. Looks like we have a little bit of a different, like one's going up, one's going down, just like we learned before. We just need to grab all those and then scale them in the opposite directions. Okay, instead of pulling them, because the hands are like mirrored from each other. Okay, and so we just need, and so one's going to be going up in the graph editor while the other is going down. Super confusing. The more you do it, the more you'll understand it. I can't really explain it. I wish. I'm pretty good at explaining things, but that's something that I can't explain. Okay? So, we're going to scale this up from each other. Now it's up at her face again. Maybe that's a little too much. But the cool thing is it's working, okay? And the reason it is working is because we didn't touch any of that upper half of her body that we already had animated. We're taking the upper half of the shooting animation and the bottom half of the jumping animation and then pushing them together and not caring about all the other garbage. I shouldn't say garbage, we animated it, but all the other animation that we had done. We were just worrying about the upper half and the bottom half, two separate halves of the body. And this kind of stuff happens in game engines all the time. They will mask out the bottom half of the body or mask out the top half of the body. And like when the locomotion is happening, they'll have the feet moving and then they'll have the upper aiming, right? You're doing essentially the same thing. You're just doing it in Maya and you're getting a new animation out of it so you don't have to work so hard. Let's go ahead and delete these keyframes here. That's gonna pull our arms back down, and we can even, to get them back down, we can even scale that like this. Okay, to get them closer down so they're coming back. And then she returns back to grabbing that arrow. Now, yeah, she now grabs. So if we go to 31 here, we can see that she is jumping, shooting, and landing, and grabbing another arrow, right? And that's super awesome. The cool thing is if we want to, oops, we can say we don't want this pose. Say we like this pose at the end here, but we want this pose to be right here. We can grab, copy, and paste this pose to here, where she is now in this pose instead, to where she's in this more like natural pose or neutral pose for this idle pose, okay? And then we can turn our like our bow back on, just like this. And let's see what that gives us. Delete all this. And then copy and paste this frame to this frame. I like this pose right here more than I like that other pose. But we haven't built that animation, so we can just go ahead and have her be knocking the bow. Jumps up, comes back down, and is knocking the bow. I want to, now from here, I can now adjust the animation so that she shoots the arrow and the bow before she comes down. Because right now she's kind of shooting it and coming down at the same time. And if I want her to do it differently, all I need to do is I need to grab all of these, I need to grab the hand, and then grab the parent constraint, and I just need to move those back. Maybe get rid of this frame here, and then move those back. Just like that. And then we pull this like this even farther. And of course the arrow is not flying out straight. And that's something that we have to adjust ourselves. Copy and paste that over there. Pull this arrow this way. Maybe we can straighten the arrow out just a smidge more. Make our lives easier. Pull it out. It's unstepped and clamped, so we want to do that. All right, let's polish this up a bit more before we end the tutorial. It's going to come up here like this. She's going to pull her hand back. Elbow is getting a little wonky donkey. Let's make sure that it's coming down with her arm. It's getting a little wonky because of where it's at. Her hand is going to come back to get another, and maybe we can have her hand come down like this first. To this point down here like this. Lean her forward a little bit more. Make sure that that's not stepped clamped. She's bending down with her hand down here like this. Pull this elbow down. Get rid of that frame. Have this hand coming out more. I don't like how soon it's coming down. So I can pull this up like this. Have it come down just a little bit as she's coming down and then goes up. Let's go ahead and pull this bow up like this. Pull it back. I don't like how slow her bow is coming down. Let's have it come down faster. And it can do like kind of like a body bounce kind of thing. Want it to come out a little bit more in front of her so the string isn't penetrating through her leg. Copy and paste that. Have her bring the bow out. Pull her back like this. Pull this arm in so it makes a little more sense. Don't like how kinked her shoulders look, so let's bring the elbow down and probably bring the shoulders down as well. Let's see what shoulder this is. Yep. But with a little more adjusting, and with this animation, it's going to look pretty dang legit, right guys? So, in this tutorial, we learned how to create a shooting, not super polished shooting, not super polished jump, but I think you guys understand the point that I'm trying to make here is like, you don't have to work so hard and like redo all of your animations, Kate. Try and find ways that you can utilize a lot, like your animations, and mash them together so that you can create some really cool creations and really cool game animations, and so you don't have to work so hard. Like, I could polish up that, bow draw, and then I could polish up the jump, and then I can do my method here where I put them together, like, and have a really nice bow shoot, a really nice jump, and then putting them together and have a really nice jump shooting animation, right? And it's looking pretty much close. It's pretty far right now as it is at this moment. And so if we wanted to push it a little bit farther, we could have a really nice, honestly, demo reel piece. Anyways, guys, I'm sorry if I was all over the place with this tutorial. My brain is kind of feeling squirrely, but thank you so much for watching this video. Again, just like I had said in the beginning of the video, thank you so much for all the support you guys have given me, all of the comments, all of the sharing, all of the, in the Discord community. Thank you guys so much for giving me so much support. It really means the world to me. Okay, please leave comments. Let me know what you guys want to see. I try to get to it. I'm on my Discord server. I leave feedback daily. If you leave your shot there, I will get to it. Okay, please check me out on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on LinkedIn. Anywhere that you are, I am probably there. So please go and follow me. Please share this video as much as you can, or share other videos so that we can keep growing this channel. I can give you guys more content. We can keep growing this community. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much again. Happy animating.